The film begins with a cave in the mountain. After a close-up shot of the cave, we are shown two girls, Abby and her sister. After Abby's mother died, Beth's entire world became Abby. Their life was going well until they learned that Beth had terminal cancer. Beth was devastated by this news, but she refused to give up. She began searching for new ways to treat Beth and learned about a pharmaceutical research company that had discovered a cure for terminal cancer. But the treatment was extremely expensive. Abby didn't have the money, so she decided to take on a very dangerous job. She landed a job as a geologist on the frigid border between Europe and Russia, where she had to search for uranium in the mountain. The job was extremely dangerous, even potentially life-threatening, but because it offered good pay, she accepted. Abby dedicated herself to her work. Despite their hard work, they find no uranium. So Abby tells her colleague that they should go deeper into the mountain and into the dense forest. Her colleague was unwilling to take this risk, knowing it could endanger his life. Furthermore, the Russian border was about to begin, where they were not allowed to go. Desperate, Abby goes to Kara. That night, she receives a call from her father, who tells her that Beth's health has worsened. Abby is also worried that the company hasn't given her any advance, at least enough to start her sister's treatment. She knows that if she wants the money, she must find uranium. So the next day, she decides to go deeper into the forest. Her colleague warns her that there might be wild animals inside, and she had already refused to accompany her. So she borrows his gun and begins her journey alone. After walking for a long time, she begins to hear strange noises. She sensed an animal approaching her. She immediately drew her gun, but then her eyes fell on a large, bare rock below. It seemed as if the sound was coming from it. Picking it up, she found it extremely valuable. She had never seen anything like it before. She was a geologist, meaning she had done extensive research on land and rock. Abby brought it back to her base, but didn't tell her company about it because she found it incredibly valuable. She thought she could sell it and raise enough money for Beth's treatment. Just then, she received another call from her father, who told her that Beth's health has worsened, so Abby decided to go home immediately.
On her way, she told her colleague that she might never return. To escape the area, Abby had to take a helicopter. She boards the helicopter, and halfway through, Abby notices a strange object outside the window, which she initially thinks is a bird's wing. But as the helicopter crashes into her, she realizes it's something else. She's unconscious. When she regains consciousness, she sees one pilot already dead and the other badly injured. She administers first aid to him and then frantically searches for a radio to call for help. She initially can't find one, and the helicopter's communication system is out of order. Realizing she can't call for help, Abby panics. She must save herself and the pilot. She retrieves the map and compass and discovers that the nearest road is approximately 60 kilometers away, a difficult journey in the weather and condition. Night falls, and Abby lights a fire, hoping someone will spot them, and desperately tries to protect the pilot from the cold. But all her efforts are futile. The pilot died before dawn, and no one saw the fire, nor did anyone come to help. Abby realized that staying here and waiting for help was futile, so she left, taking supplies, food, a gun, and a radio. A walkie-talkie. The walkie-talkie signal was very weak due to the low battery. Abby charged the walkie-talkie with the helicopter's battery, and then she heard the voice of a man named John on the same walkie-talkie. Surprisingly, John's helicopter had also crashed, landing in a nearby area. He explained that there was a lake and a forest nearby. His condition was also very bad, as many parts of his body were missing. They weren't working, and his leg was badly injured. He explained that his communication system was also damaged, preventing him from calling for rescue. But the good news was that John had good supplies and a good radio, which Abby could repair with her battery and expertise, and use it to summon help. She checked the map. John was only 30 kilometers away, while the road was 60 kilometers away. So Abby decided to go to John. But John told her, "You're making a mistake. The route is too dangerous, and with the expectations you're having, who knows, my equipment might not work." Abby held back. As she didn't have much time, she couldn't afford to travel the 60 kilometers to the road and then wait for help. She needed to reach her sister quickly. They continued talking on the way, and Abby revealed that she was a geologist. Immediately, John told her, "Then you must have come here to look for uranium." Hearing this, Abby was shocked. How did he know this? At night, Abby sets up a shelter and, before resting, checks the same black stone in her bag. She was turning it over and over when, to her surprise, it began to change shape in her hands. As she tried to bend it, as she tried to shape it, it changed. She became even more confused, wondering what it was. No stone could change shape like this. Was it some advanced technology or an alien rock? The next morning, Abby resumed her journey. She was completely alone in this snowy area. John kept trying to talk to her on the radio, but Abby scolded him, saying, "If we keep talking on the radio like this, our radio's battery will quickly run down, and then I won't be able to contact you." Turning off the radio, she begins to focus on her journey. A new challenge presents itself, climbing a steep hill, a seemingly insurmountable task. Abby thinks she might not be able to do it. She tells John about it, and John says, "Okay, if you want to go ahead. I'll remember all the effort you put in for me and pray for your sister speedy recovery. A saddened Natty then tells her that she's also not recovering. John explains that she can't save everyone. Hearing this, she becomes angry and scolds John, saying, "Right now, I don't need advice, but motivation to keep going." John says, "Okay, do what you think is right." Abby begins climbing the difficult hill, and when she can't find a spot, she uses her knife to climb up. But at one point, her knife gets stuck in the hill and breaks, making her climb even more difficult. At this moment, Abby remembers the stone she was able to change its shape. She takes it out, shapes it into a knife, and uses it to climb up. This stone eases many of her difficulties. She uses it to propel herself up, and finally reaches the top of the mountain. Upon reaching the top of the mountain, she realizes that descending would be even more difficult. It resembles a precipice. If she fell, she would die. She now shapes the same stone into a long rope and uses it to descend.
Upon descending, John immediately contacts her and tells her that the Russian border lies ahead. If she goes there, she will be shot on sight. Hearing this, Abby is terrified. She was about to turn back when she accidentally slips. The stone slips from under her feet, sending her tumbling down the slope, severely injuring her leg. She bandages her leg and resumes her journey, determined not to stop. She keeps walking. Evening approached, and finally, she spotted a settlement. Abby, desperately in need of help, immediately headed toward it. But sadly, there wasn't a single person there. Tired, she decided to spend the night there. She was hungry. She found food, but it had spoiled. She bandaged her injured leg and gave herself a strength injection. In the morning, Abby's eyes were drawn to some noises, and she spotted a Russian soldier nearby. She was frightened, fearing capture. As she had come from Europe, she immediately hid. The soldier was also suspicious, so he followed Abby into the house. Abby also had a gun. She had it ready, and as soon as the soldier appeared, she pointed it at him. The soldier was also pointing a gun at her, but Abby shot him in the leg. Although Abby intended to harm the soldier, she also knew he was there. No, the bullet was fired accidentally. Terrified, she takes the soldier's rifle and asks for his bag containing supplies. The surprising thing is that the soldier also possessed a stone similar to the black stone she was carrying. It could change its shape and perform various functions. At this time, someone contacted the soldier's walkie-talkie. The voice of each person who contacted the soldier sounded exactly like John's. Abby was shocked at how someone could speak to her as John and to the soldier as someone else. She understood that the whole story was connected to the stone. She even asks John through the soldier's walkie-talkie, "Who are you and what do you want?" But there's no answer. So she helps the wounded soldier. She bandages him and asks, "If you need my help, I can take you to your base." The soldier agrees, as he too had gotten lost and arrived here. John was still in contact with Abby, but they didn't know his intentions. Both were still injured, and moving forward was difficult for both. Interestingly, they were enemies. One was from Europe, the other from Russia, but here they weren't showing any hostility because they both knew they needed each other. They continued moving forward, and the soldier's injuries only worsened. John was also saying strange things to Abby, as if trying to instill fear in her for the other soldier. Abby realized that John must have a connection to the black stone she was carrying. Terrified, she took the black stone from her bag and threw it away. Meanwhile, she saw that the ice of the lake beneath the soldier's feet had broken and he had fallen into it. Abby tried to go after him for help, but the ice broke beneath her feet and she too fell into the lake.
The lake water was so cold that it froze Abby's entire body. Still, Parby managed to climb out, albeit with great difficulty. She tried to shout for help, but no one came to her aid. She helped herself and took off all her wet clothes to keep her body warm. At this point, she heard John's voice again. In anger, she even removed the radio's battery and threw it away, but she was still able to hear John's voice. Finally, exhausted and injured, she fell asleep. In her sleep, she remembered all the beautiful moments she had spent with her sister. A few moments later, she awoke to the sound of a helicopter. She was delighted. Gathering her strength, she got up, hoping to attract the helicopter so that it could come to her aid. But Abby was so weak that she was unable to signal the helicopter. Now Abby saw herself standing near a car. Abby's courage failed. Her mind failed, and she fell unconscious. Rolling, she fell into the pit, the same pit we were shown at the beginning of the movie. This pit contained warm water that began to give Abby new life. In this very water, we see a skeleton, a dead man in a pilot's uniform with John's name written on. Was John, the man Abby had been talking to all along, dead? Well, several shiny black stones flowed up and attached to Abby's body. When she regained consciousness, she was terrified because she had arrived in a strange place where the same black stones were everywhere. All the stones were flying around her in the air. And here, Abby heard John's voice. He explained how 65 years ago, he had come here just like Abby and then got stuck there. Listening to him, Abby understood that what was happening to her was neither an accident, nor the stones she saw here. The helicopter crash, a glimpse of which she had seen, was deliberately caused by these stones. She understood that these stones were either aliens or some creature unknown to humans, but they have been living here for thousands of years. Whether their stay here is out of compulsion or choice, no one knows. They need humans to survive. But unlike other aliens, they do not abuse humans. They do not kill them, but keep them here of their own free will, just as John had willingly surrendered himself to them. After which, these stones gave John life, but they didn't give her a life that was human. Now John asks Abby if she wants such a life, she'll get it. But Abby replied, it's because she didn't want to be part of this alien system. She just wanted to return to her sister. The next moment, she was magically standing in front of her house, away from all those hardships. Her life had suddenly become perfect. She couldn't believe it. She went inside and met her sister. But the truth was, none of this was real. It was all just the aliens making her see it. When she regained consciousness, she was standing in front of her house's door. When she opened the door, there was a blizzard in front of her. Abby walked into the storm, and the scenes blurred, and in a flash, we were shown that Abby had been rescued. When she woke up, she was indeed in her friend's apartment. Without wasting any time, she went to her sister. Upon returning home, she saw her sister taking her last breath. Finally, Abby was with her sister in her final moment. The aliens had granted her wish. She wanted to be with her sister in her final moment. At the end of the movie, Abby was with her sister and her father, accepting death as John had told her to. Now she was ready for her sister's death. The movie would have ended with this emotional scene.